The stars drifted slowly outside the viewports of the cargo ship Giraffe's Pride. Captain Thalanor stood on the bridge, his hands folded behind his back, eyes locked on the dark emptiness ahead. His crew worked quietly, running scans and adjusting navigation. They were far from any known trade routes. The ship's hull creaked softly in the cold of space. This path was a shortcut, one that brushed dangerously close to the territory every spacer spoke about in whispers human. Space. The charts marked it only with a faint gray line. No beacons, no stations, no patrol routes. Just emptiness. Official star maps didn't even give it a name, but the old rumors had one. They called it the line you do not cross. Thalanar had never believed the stories. He had heard them since his cadet days about ships that went in and never came back, about silent hunters that moved faster than light, about humans who never let trespassers leave alive. But to him, it was just a legend to keep traders away from unused lanes. The galaxy was full of such ghost tales. He was not a man who feared shadows. Still, when the last known beacon faded behind them, the silence became heavier. The background, chatter of civilian traffic was gone. There was no ping of automated buoys, no random transmissions from nearby freighters. The officer shifted in his seat. "Captain," he said quietly, "I'm not picking up any signals." "At all," good Thalanar replied. "That means less chance of pirates." But in the pit of his stomach, a faint unease began to grow. Hours passed. The ship glided through the darkness. Then the sensor officer frowned and leaned forward. "Sir, something just flickered on the long-range array. It was there for a moment, then gone. What was it? I can't tell. No drive signature, no transponder. Could be debris?" Thalanor's eyes narrowed. Debris doesn't move. They increased scan power, but the black around them remained empty. The crew tried to laugh it off, but their voices were quiet. By the 4th hour in the gray zone, something changed. The ship's lights dimmed. Not a full blackout, just a subtle shift, as if the power grid was distracted. Then the temperature dropped by a few degrees. The engineer checked every system and reported no faults. "Captain," the officer whispered, "I think I heard something." Thalanar turned, heard. In space. "It wasn't on the channels," the officer said. "It was in my headset. Just for a second." Voice, it said. He stopped. His face had gone pale. It said, "Turn back." The captain stared at him. "Log it," he ordered, but his voice was tight. The navigator glanced nervously. "At our console, sir. At our current speed, we'll be across the human border in 47 minutes. We're not stopping," Thalanor said. The crew obeyed. But no one spoke after that. 20 minutes later, the sensors picked something. Up again. This time, it was clearer shadow on the edge of the detection grid. It had no shape the computer could lock onto, and it didn't reflect light. It was as if a piece of the void had decided to move. "It's matching our course," the sensor officer said. His voice trembled. "Distance unknown, the readings keep changing. Sometimes it's 100,000 kilometers away. Sometimes it's right next to us." The captain's hand tightened on the rail. Could be a sensor glitch. The officer shook his head. "Then it's the same glitch every time we sweep." Without warning, the ship's external cameras flickered. For a split second, a dark shape filled the feed sleek, black, without markings. Then the image cut to static. The engineer swore. "We just lost 3 camera feeds at once." The lights dimmed again. This time they didn't return to full brightness. The air felt heavier, as if the ship itself knew it was being hunted. "Bring weapons online," Thalanar ordered. "Captain, we're a cargo hauler," the security officer reminded him. "We have point defense cannons at best." "Then warm them up anyway." The navigator looked up suddenly. "Sir, our position just changed." Thalanar frowned. "Explain." "We haven't altered course, but the starfield is wrong. It's like space itself shifted around us." Before he could answer, the system came alive, not with a signal, but with silence so deep it made the crew flinch. Voice, calm, cold. "Human, you have entered restricted space. No one moved. The voice didn't come from the speakers. It came from everywhere, as if it was inside their heads. You will stop engines. You will power down weapons. You will. Prepare for boarding. Thalinar's hands tightened into fists. Identify yourself. The voice ignored him. You were warned. The lights went out. Emergency glow strips lit the corridors in faint red. From the forward viewport, the crew saw it materializing out of the black. A massive warship, its hull like a shard of night. No running lights, no windows. Just an endless, jagged shape that seemed too large to be real. The Jareth's pride shook as if space itself had gripped it. The engines died without warning. They've shut us down remotely, the engineer whispered. A cold metallic clang echoed through the hull. Boarding, the captain reached for the comm panel, but it was dead. All systems were dead, the crew heard. Footsteps impossibly loud in the silence moving toward the bridge. Then the door opened. The boarding party was human, but not like the old images in the archives. They wore black armor with no insignia, visors reflecting nothing. They moved with precision, weapons raised. No hesitation. One of them spoke not through the comm, not through speakers, but directly into Thalinar's mind. You are trespassing. You will not leave. The rest of the crew were frozen in place, their bodies locked as if invisible hands held them still. The humans moved among them, scanning each one, marking their suits with some kind of tag. The captain's last thought, before darkness took him, was not of fear, but of the fact that he had been wrong. The stories were not legends. They were warnings. When the Jareth's pride drifted silently across the border hours later, its engines cold and lights dead, there was no crew aboard, no life signs, no trace of struggle, only the faint echo of a voice in the black. Enter human space once, and you'll never leave alive. The rescue ship Varen's Hope cut through the dark like a silver blade, its hull painted with the insignia of the Korath Alliance. Captain Drillin sat on the bridge, his mandibles clicking softly as he scanned the data on his console. The report was clear. Eret's pride had sent no signals for over 30 hours. The last known location placed it close to the edge of human space. Dr. L didn't like this mission. It wasn't because he feared danger. He'd fought in border skirmishes and pirate ambushes before, because of the silence. Silence in space meant one of two things. Either nothing at all, something so dangerous that nothing survived. To speak about it, the Korath Alliance officially denied that any ship had gone missing in human territory. But in secret, they had sent Drelln and his crew to investigate. The orders were simple. Go in quietly, find the pride, retrieve the crew, if possible, and leave without drawing attention. They had no idea if humans were even out here anymore. The galaxy hadn't seen them openly in over a century. No trade, no diplomacy, no broadcasts only, those whispered tales from spacers who claimed to have seen black shapes moving in the dark. Drelln didn't believe rumors. But he knew one truth. No one who crossed the human border without permission had ever been confirmed alive again. Approaching designated coordinates, the navigator announced. The viewport showed nothing but the same empty void. No stars brighter than the rest. No planetary glow. It was a dead patch of space. Activate long-range scan, Drell. Ordered. The sensor display lit up, panned, then dimmed. The readings were fragmented, almost scrambled. Sir, the sensor officer said, there's interference. Not natural. Something's jamming us. Drellin's mandibles clicked again. Source, no clear direction. It's everywhere. The crew worked in silence. Every sound on the bridge seemed too loud. Then, on the edge of the scanner grid, a faint object appeared. It's the Jareth's pride, the officer confirmed. They approached cautiously. The ship drifted without power, its hull scarred but intact. No signs of weapons fire, no external damage that could explain a total systems failure. Boarding party prepare, Drelln commanded. When the airlock doors opened, the rescue team stepped into a cold, silent corridor. The pride was dead. No lights, no gravity, no heat. Their suit. Lamps cut through the darkness. but every shadow seemed thicker than it should be. Life signs? Drell asked, overcomes. None, Captain, came the reply.
What?
No bodies either, just empty. The boarding team moved deeper into the ship. Food trays still sat on tables in the mess hall, some halfway eaten. A chair lay tipped over on the bridge, as if its occupant had stood up suddenly and never sat down again. Check logs, Drell ordered. But the ship's computers were blank. Entire storage banks had been wiped clean. And then the comms officer's voice came through tight. With fear, Captain. You'd better get back to Varen's Hope. We've got movement out here. Drell turned to his second-in-command. Pull the team now. They made their way back to the airlock, but before they reached it, the ship trembled. What was that? Something. Hit the hull, the engineer replied. The sound came again, a deep metallic thud, like something attaching itself to the ship. The lights in the rescue team's helmets flickered. Move. Drillin barked. They reached the airlock, cycled through, and sealed it behind them. On the Varen's Hope's bridge, the crew stared at the main display. Out in the void, something huge was moving, just a darker patch of black against the stars. Can't get a reading, the sensor officer said. It's absorbing scans. No drive signature, no transponder. The dark shape shifted, and for a moment, Drill saw the outline of a vessel, SL sleek, angular, predatory. Then it was gone. Where? Did it? The navigator began. A voice interrupted, filling the bridge. Not through speakers. Inside their heads, you will leave. Every crew member froze. This is restricted space. You will leave now. Drellin tried to speak, but his throat was dry. Identify yourself. No answer, just the same cold voice repeating, leave or be removed. Helm, set course out of here, Drellin ordered, but the helm officer's hand shook. Sir, controls aren't responding. The ship's engines powered down on their own. All external lights died. Only the dim red glow of emergency strips remained, and then, in complete silence, a massive human warship slid into view. Its hull reflected no starlight. It moved with the slow confidence of a predator that knew its prey could not escape. The voice came again. Final warning. Without waiting to test what came after, Drellin shouted, all power to engines. This time, the controls obeyed. The Varen's Hope surged forward, turning hard away from the warship. For several long minutes, no one breathed. No pursuit appeared. On sensors, it was as if the human ship had simply let them go. But just as Drellin began to believe they might escape, the voice returned. We will be watching. The interference vanished. The scanners worked again. And the starfield outside looked exactly as it had before, empty and silent. Yet Drell knew they hadn't been allowed to leave. They had been sent back with a message, and the message was clear. Enter human space once, and you'll never leave alive, Captain. Drellin's claws tapped against the polished metal table in the Korth Alliance High Council chamber. The room was bright, almost painfully so, after the oppressive darkness of human space. Rows of delegates sat in semicircles above him, their robes heavy with symbols of rank. He had been summoned the moment Varen's Hope docked. His crew was in quarantine, his ship impounded for inspection. But Drell knew the truth. This meeting wasn't about health or safety. It was about what he had seen. Counselor Harvis, a tall figure with pale chitin and the cold eyes of a career politician, leaned forward. Captain Drellin, for the record, state your mission. Drellin's mandibles clicked. We were dispatched to locate the missing vessel, Jareth's Pride. Last known coordinates placed it near the human border. We found the ship adrift, systems dead, crew missing. We attempted retrieval. We encountered something. The chamber murmured at the word. Something. Harvis's voice sharpened. Clarify. Drellin took a slow breath. His words came. Out-clipped, controlled, but the tension in his shoulders betrayed him. We were intercepted. By a vessel of unknown configuration. It disabled our ship remotely. No visible weapons discharge, no energy spikes. It simply took control. Another counselor scoffed. Impossible. No technology exists that can. I saw it happen, Drellin snapped, louder than intended. The vessel was human. Black hull, no markings. It moved like nothing I've ever seen. One moment on sensors, the next gone, and then right beside us. The council fell into uneasy silence. Harvest gestured. Continue. He spoke to us, Drellin said. Not through channels. Directly into our minds. They knew our mission, our intentions. They told us to leave, or be removed. Psychological warfare, another delegate muttered. Trix Drellin shook his head. No, this was not intimidation. This was control. We could not move. Our systems shut down until they allowed us to go. They let us leave because they wanted to send a message. Counselor Velra, one of the oldest members, leaned forward. And what message is that, Captain? Drell met her gaze. That human space is closed. That anyone who enters will not leave alive. And, he hesitated, his mandibles twitching, that they are watching us now. The chamber erupted in overlapping voices, some outraged, some fearful. Harvest pounded the gavel until the noise died. You are suggesting, Harvest said slowly, that humans possess technology beyond our capacity to detect or counter. Yes, Drellin said, without hesitation. They are not absent from galactic affairs because they are weak. They've chosen isolation, and they have enforced it with absolute precision. A younger counselor leaned toward his neighbor. If they have such power, why not conquer? Drellin's claws scraped the table. Perhaps conquest is not their goal. Perhaps they are guarding something, or preparing for something else entirely. The words hung in the air, heavier than the chamber's gravity. Harvest narrowed his eyes. Do you have proof of this encounter? Drellin's jaw tightened. They erased our ship's records. All scans, logs, even personal devices. We have nothing but my crew's testimony, which, I suspect, is exactly how they want it. That brought another wave of murmurs. Velra raised a hand. Then we are left with a choice. Do we inform the other empires, or keep this contained? Harvest's mandibles curled into what might have been a smile. Humans have not acted beyond their borders. If we expose this, we risk provoking them. If we remain silent, perhaps they will remain in their cage. Drellin slammed a fist on the table. You think it is a cage? No, it is a hunting ground. We crossed into it, and they let us leave only to send me here. To tell you exactly what they wanted you to hear. Several counselors exchanged uneasy glances. One whispered, Then what if they are listening now? Velra's voice was quiet. I suspect they are. The session ended without a decision. Officially, the Jareth's pride had been lost too. A navigation error. Drellin's report was sealed under highest classification. But the captain noticed something as he left the chamber to security officers he didn't recognize standing by the doors, both wearing unmarked black uniforms. When he passed, one of them turned slightly. Drell froze. The visor reflected nothing. But he felt it like a cold hand brushing the inside of his skull, a voice too soft for anyone else to hear. Do not cross the line again. By the time he spun around, the figure was gone. That night, alone in his quarters, Drell locked the door and shut down all devices. Yet he could not shake the feeling of being observed. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of Alliance sensors in the cold depths of human space, the black warship waited, and its crew knew his name. The covert vessel Veilrunner drifted through the void with no running lights, no active transponder, and its engines whispering at the lowest possible output. From the outside it looked like a piece of debris, just another shard of rock in space. Inside, however, every crew member moved with silent precision. Commander Kareth stood at the forward viewport, her eyes fixed on the dark ahead. Human space lay beyond, its borders invisible but heavily rumored. She had read Captain Drellin's classified report, every word, every description of that black warship. The council had dismissed his warnings. But Kareth wasn't here to debate. She was here to see for herself. Officially, the Veil Runner was on a deep space mineral survey. Unofficially, it was the Korath Alliance's most advanced stealth ship. Designed to penetrate hostile territory without detection, it carried a crew of 12, all trained in infiltration, data theft, and survival in zero-signal environments. The mission was clear: slip past the invisible human border, gather intelligence on whatever lay inside, and return without being seen. Crossing coordinate marker, the navigator whispered. No alarms. No beacons. No sudden bursts of traffic. Just more of the same cold void. Kareth's second in command, a lean officer named Veverick, leaned toward her. This is too easy. She didn't respond. Instead, she kept her eyes on the darkness. Every instinct told her they were not alone. Hours passed. The Veil Runner glided deeper into human territory. They passed derelict structures, old orbital stations drifting without power. Some were alien designs, others so ancient their builders couldn't be identified. No distress signals, no signs of struggle, just empty shells. The crew whispered. Among themselves, "It's like a graveyard," one said. Kareth ordered scans, but the results were strange. The ship's sensors could map the derelicts, but beyond a certain range. Nothing. As if the universe itself simply stopped rendering. Picking up something unusual, the sensor officer murmured. An energy signature, very faint but alien. Kareth leaned over the display. The reading pulsed irregularly like a heartbeat. Track it. They followed the signal for nearly an hour, weaving between fragments of old battle debris. Finally, they saw a massive structure floating in the dark. It was not a station, not exactly. Its hull was patched from dozens of different technologies, as if it had been built from the remains of countless captured ships. "What in the void is that?" Veverick whispered. "Begin recording," Kareth ordered. The Veil Runner circled slowly. Through gaps in the hull, faint lights glowed, a sign of life. The signal they'd been tracking was stronger now, almost deafening on the scanners. And then the navigator stiffened. "Commander, we've been marked." Kareth turned sharply. "Explain, a foreign beacon just activated on our hull." The words hung in the air. No one had touched the ship. No contact had been made. And yet something or someone had placed a signal on them. Before Kareth could react, the lights on the bridge flickered. A voice spoke not over the com, but directly into their minds. "You have crossed the line." Veverick's hand hovered. "Over the emergency jump controls, we're leaving." Kareth grabbed his arm. "Not yet. Keep recording." The crew obeyed, but fear was rising like a tide. The derelict structure ahead suddenly shifted panels, sliding away to reveal long, angular shapes, ships, black-hulled, unlit, sliding silently into space like predators stirred from sleep. There were no drive flares, no energy spikes. They moved without sound, without hurry, as if confident escape was impossible. The voice came again. "You should not be here." Veverick's hand slammed the jump controls. The Veil Runner surged forward, space folding around it as the jump drive engaged. But when the distortion cleared, the crew froze. They had not returned to safe space instead. They floated above a planet shrouded in eternal night. No sunlight reached it, but thousands of faint blue lights dotted its surface like watchful eyes. Orbiting above were more black ships, silent and still. "This isn't on any chart," the navigator whispered. "It's not supposed to be," Kareth said grimly. Then the voice returned, louder now, impossible to ignore. "You are within the prison. You will not leave." The crew exchanged terrified glances. Prison? For what? Or for who? Kareth's mind raced. The Council had assumed human space was just an isolation zone territory. They refused to let others enter. But this planet, this fleet, it was something far more deliberate. And if it truly was a prison, then whatever was inside had to be dangerous enough to justify an entire civilization's secrecy. The first of the black ships began to move toward them, not fast. Just inevitable. Kareth's voice was steady, but her hands were cold. Record everything. We may not make it back, but someone needs to know." The crew obeyed, their eyes fixed on the silent hunters closing in, far away. Deep in the void, the Veil Runner's distress beacon would never be heard, because in human space, there were no distress calls, only silence. The alien fleet had been scattered. But the war was far from over. Captain Ralston stood on the command deck of the Iron Vow, watching the tactical holograms flicker in the air. Red enemy markers still swarmed across the outer colonies, but now they were cautious, no longer charging blindly into battle. The first clash had taught them that humans didn't fight fair. They didn't fight like the rest of the galaxy at all. "Enemy formations are regrouping," reported Lieutenant Harris. "They've stopped advancing. Looks like they're waiting for reinforcements." Ralston's eyes narrowed. Or they're buying time. He knew what the enemy was capable of. Zorith Empire didn't just rely on numbers. It had super-weapons planet killers designed to erase entire worlds in a single strike. And according to intercepted transmissions, one such weapon was already en route to Earth's system. The bridge fell silent as the implications sank in. If Earth was lost, the war would be over before it truly began. "Bring up Project Aegis," Ralston ordered. At his command, the hologram shifted to display a massive, unfinished station orbiting near Jupiter. It was the most ambitious human defense project ever attempted, a fortress bristling with railguns, shield generators, and something far more dangerous, an experimental weapon capable of tearing a ship apart from the inside without a single shot fired. It wasn't ready yet. But it would have to be. "The enemy thinks they can take Earth before we can react," Ralston said, his voice cold. "They're wrong. We're going to meet their super weapon before it ever reaches the Sol system." Harris hesitated. "Sir, with respect. The fleet's scattered. We don't have enough ships to match their escort." Ralston smiled faintly. "We don't need to match them. We just need to make them think we can." Within hours, messages were sent to every surviving human warship. The call went out to independent captains, privateers, even old freighters that could be armed with missiles. The response was overwhelming. Humanity had been caught off guard once, but never again. By the time the Iron Vow left dock, over 70 ships had formed up behind her. They weren't all military grade. Some were barely spaceworthy, but every crew on those ships understood what was at stake. The journey to intercept the enemy was tense, as the enemy's super weaponette, dreadnought the size of a city, moved steadily. Through the void, its escort of sleek warships forming a wall of steel and plasma around it. The humans approached under stealth, hiding in the shadow of drifting asteroids and dead moons. When the first clash came, it was sudden and brutal. Human missile barrages tore into the enemy's outer escorts, forcing them to break formation. Fighters darted between massive warships, launching EMP torpedoes that shut down shields long enough for railguns to punch through. But the dreadnought kept advancing. Unstoppable, its dark hull absorbing hit after hit without slowing. Shields. At 90%, Harris reported grimly. Ralston didn't respond immediately. He was watching the readouts from Project Aegis. "Now," he said finally. From beyond the edge of the battle, signal pulsed through the void, an invisible wave of energy, tuned to the exact resonance frequency of the dreadnought's shield. Generators. The effect was instant. Now the shields didn't weaken, they collapsed entirely, flickering out in a burst of static. The human fleet pounced.
Alja.
Railguns fired in synchronized salvos, each slug punching deep into the dreadnought's armor. Missiles swarmed like angry hornets, detonating along its flanks. And then the Iron Vow made its run, charging straight toward the heart of the enemy vessel. The dreadnought's weapons roared to life, beams slicing through space, but the Iron Vow's maneuvering was unpredictable, almost reckless. "Target their core," Ralston ordered. One shot. The forward railgun fired, the slug ripping into the exposed interior. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then, the dreadnought's entire midsection erupted in a blinding explosion. The battlefield fell silent. Enemy ships scattered, retreating without their flagship to rally them. The humans had done the impossible. They had stopped a weapon that could have ended them. But as the debris drifted through the dark, Ralston's mind was already turning to the next threat. This victory would not go unanswered. The Zorith Empire would come again, and when they did, humanity would be ready. Because now, the galaxy knew something it could never forget. Humans didn't just survive, date, and they struck back twice as hard. The galaxy watched in silence. Every fleet, every intelligence network, every hidden observer kept their eyes on the growing shadow that was humanity. The Council had thought they could contain Earth, but every move against them had only made the humans stronger. Now, their warships moved through the stars with quiet precision, never wasting a shot, never announcing their presence until it was too late. Admiral Verone of the Core Dominion sat in his private chamber, staring at the holomap before him. Red. Markers showed destroyed fleets as fleets wiped out in minutes. The humans never left survivors. Ships simply vanished from the map as if swallowed by the void. They are not fighting like any known species, his aide whispered. No comes, no threats, no demands. Just silence and destruction. Baron's claws tapped the table. They have a plan. We just don't know it yet. Far from the Dominion's core worlds, aboard the human flagship Resolute, Captain, Elias Kane studied his own maps. Every alien transmission they intercepted was analyzed and decoded within minutes. They knew exactly where enemy fleets moved, what they feared, and even the locations of their hidden supply depots. Humanity was not just winning battles, they were dismantling the enemy's ability to fight. But Kane knew the truth. This was not the endgame. The real mission was still hidden, locked in encrypted orders from Earth. Only the highest command knew the ultimate goal. For now, their orders were simple: push deeper, strike harder, and show no weakness in the outer rim. An alien convoy moved through a dead system, unaware that they were being watched. The Resolute drifted in the shadow of an asteroid, engines cold, weapons charged. Kane waited until the convoy passed directly into the kill zone. Fire, he said. The space ahead lit up with precision beams and railgun slugs. The convoy never had a chance. Their escort ships turned to engage, but the Resolute's shields absorbed the return fire easily. In under 4 minutes it was over. Wreckage spun silently through space, some still burning, but something strange happened. One of the alien freighters had tried to run instead of fighting. Kane ordered it disabled, not destroyed. When Marines boarded, they found no cargo, no weapons, only a single sealed container. Inside was a message pod. The pod carried an old encryption format, one humans had cracked months ago. When decoded, it revealed a short transmission from the Core Dominion's own High Council. Do not engage humans. Avoid contact. Relocate. All research on Project Ascendant to secure location immediately. Kane's eyes narrowed. Project Ascendant? This was the first time he had heard those words. Hours later, the Resolute received a direct signal from Earth Command Priority 1. The voice on the line was calm, almost too calm. Captain Kane, you will alter course immediately. Destination coordinates incoming. This takes precedence over all other orders. The Dominion's Project Ascendant is to be located and neutralized, no matter the cost. Kane knew what that meant. Earth had just identified something dangerous enough to divert their most powerful ship in the middle of a war, something the aliens were desperate to hide. Across the galaxy, in a hidden fortress deep inside a nebula, Dominion scientists worked in frantic silence. They had discovered something ancient, something not of their making. It was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was older, live in a way no one understood. They called it the Ascendant Core, and if humanity found it first, the galaxy would never be the same. Under the dim light of the ship's bridge, Captain Rourke stood motionless, his eyes fixed on the projection floating above the tactical table. The map showed the entire border region in cold blue, with hundreds of tiny red dots slowly moving toward one point Earth's fleet. They were coming faster than the sensors predicted. 70 enemy vessels have broken formation. The comes. Officer reported. They're making a direct run for the defense line. Rourke's voice was calm, but everyone could hear the steel in it. Hold fire until they cross into range, then we hit them with everything we have. In the darkness of space, the human fleet waited like silent predators. Their weapons were charged, their shields steady, their crews focused. The enemy didn't understand. Humans never attacked first without a reason. But when provoked, they didn't stop. Commander Lena leaned closer to the captain. They breached the defense line, they'll head straight for the colony worlds. We won't have enough time to evacuate. They won't breach it, Rourke replied. Not while I'm here. A sudden tremor ran through the deck. The enemy had fired the first salvo, bright streaks of plasma lighting up the void. The human ships shifted position with perfect precision. Dodging most of the incoming fire while the shields absorbed the rest. Return fire, Rourke ordered. The response was instant and brutal. Human railguns tore through the nearest enemy cruisers, punching clean holes in their hulls. Missiles followed, weaving through debris before striking deep into the enemy formation. One explosion became 3, then 5, until the void glowed with burning wrecks. Still, the enemy pressed forward. Their formation tightened, pushing toward the heart of the defense line. What they didn't know about the trap, signaled the hammer. Fleet, Rourke commanded. Far beyond the battle, hidden behind an asteroid belt, a second human task force powered up. Dozens of warships emerged from cover and began a silent charge toward the enemy's exposed flank. When they struck, it was like a blade slicing through unprotected flesh. The enemy fleet faltered, caught between two deadly walls of human firepower. Ships tried to retreat, but escape routes were already sealed. Lena's voice was steady. They're breaking, Captain. Should we give chase? No, Rourke said, his gaze cold. Send them limping home. Let them remember what happened. Here, let them tell their commanders that Earth is not prey. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of the engines. The battle was over. But everyone on board knew this was just the beginning, because the enemy would come again, and next time they might bring the entire armada. Rourke turned away from the map, his expression unreadable. Prepare the fleet. The real war is about to begin. The war was over. Or at least that was what the Galactic Council claimed when they signed the surrender documents. But to the humans who had fought through the endless void, silence didn't feel like peace. It felt like the moment. Before another storm, Captain Elias Kane stood on the bridge of the Resolute, Earth's flagship. The ship's scarred hull bore the marks of battles that would be told in stories for centuries. The crew moved quietly, their eyes flicking between consoles and the massive holographic map in the center of the bridge. The red marker Zenomi. Fleets were gone. The galaxy was quiet. Too quiet. Admiral Veras, the Council's envoy, had just left the ship after delivering a formal request. They wanted Earth to disarm its Titan warships. They said it was to maintain balance. Kane didn't believe it for a second. The galaxy wasn't afraid of war, they were afraid of humans. In the months since Earth entered the galactic stage, one thing had become clear. Humanity fought differently. Where other races calculated acceptable losses, humans refused to accept defeat. Where others retreated, humans advanced.
Ow.
And when the galaxy saw the cost of fighting them, many decided surrender was better than extinction. But there were whispers now. Kane had intercepted encrypted chatter-hidden fleets, regrouping in uncharted space. Old enemies speaking with new allies.
Ow.
The war might have ended on paper, but something darker was brewing, sir. Lieutenant Aria's voice broke his thoughts. We've got an anomaly. Deep in the Darren Expanse. Kane turned toward the display. The Darren Expanse was supposed to be empty, a dead zone after the supernova centuries ago. But the readings showed movement, not just movement. Formation. How big? Kane asked. Aria hesitated. Bigger than anything we've seen before. Multiple fleets, different species, all in one place. Kane's stomach tightened. Get me a secure channel to command. Moments later, the flickering face of Fleet Marshal Hayes appeared. The older man looked like he hadn't slept in days. We've got confirmation, Hayes said before Kane could speak. It's not just a gathering, it's a coalition. Calling it the Unity Armada.
Oh.
Their goal is simple, finish what they started. Destroy Earth. Kane's jaw clenched, and the Council. They're pretending it's a defensive alliance, Hayes said bitterly. We both know better. The marshal's voice dropped. Elias, this might be bigger than the First War. They're not waiting decades to strike. We've got maybe weeks. Kane didn't hesitate. Then we prepare. And this time, we don't wait for them to come to us. Haas gave a grim nod. Project Zeus is still operational. We'll move it into position. The name sent a chill through the bridge crew. Project Zeus was Earth's most dangerous secret weapon, so powerful it had been kept hidden, even from most of their own allies. It wasn't just a ship. It was a statement. If humanity was pushed to the edge, they would push back harder than anyone could imagine. As the channel closed, Kane looked around the bridge, set course for the Darren Expanse. Quiet jump. I want us there before they even... No, we're moving. The Resolute's engines roared to life. Outside the viewport, the stars began to stretch into streaks of light. For a brief moment, Kane allowed himself to remember the beginning of the war when humanity had been underestimated, mocked, even pitied. Now they were feared. But fear wasn't enough. If the galaxy wanted to test them again, they would learn the same lesson all over. In the darkness beyond the jump, thousands of alien warships waited. The Unity Armada thought they could corner Earth. They thought they could break humanity's spirit. They were wrong. Because this time, humans weren't just fighting for survival, they were fighting to make sure no one ever dared challenge them again. And somewhere in the depths of space, Project Zeus awakened.